warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, my name is Muhammad Arif Sajikar9 and my student number is 024.
Hello, my name is Alfia and my student number is 021.
Hi everyone, my name is Tasha Alnadia. My student number is 028.
Hello everyone, my name is Morenzo Kosar and my number is 025.
My name is M. Satria Rakafati and my student number is 023.
Hi guys! So, for the first material, I will explain about skill 11. Use adjective clause connectors correctly. An adjective clause is a group of words that describe a noun or pronoun. It gives more information about the noun, just like an adjective does, but in the form of a clause with subject plus verb. It is positioned directly after the noun that it describes. Adjective clause always begin with a special connectors called a relative pronoun. These connectors show the relationship between the clause and the noun it describes. This is a common adjective clause connectors. Who refers for people as the subject. Whom refers for people as the object. Whose show possessions, which refers to things or animal, that refers to people or things for general use. And we have sentence pattern for adjective clause connectors. First one, we have subject, verb, adjective connector, subject, verb. And the second one, we have subject, adjective connector, subject, verb, and verb. I will give you example for adjective clause connectors. First, the woman is filling the glass that she put on the table. So guys, what do you think? Which one is the adjective clause? In the first example, there are two clauses. Woman is the subject of the verb is filling, and she is the subject of the verb put. That is the adjective clause connectors that join these two clauses. And the adjective clause that she puts on the table describe the noun glass. So, let's move to the second example. The gift blank 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 selected for the bride was rather expensive. A. Because. B. Was. C. Since. D. Which way. In this example, you should notice quickly that there are two clauses. Gift is the subject of the verb was, and the verb selected needs a subject. Because there are two clauses, a connectors is also needed. Answer A and C have connectors, but there are no subject. So, these answers are not correct. Answer B, change selected into a passive verb. In this case, the sentence would have one subject and two verbs. So, answer B is not correct. The best answer to this question is answer D. The correct sentence should say, the gift which we selected for the bride was rather expensive. In this sentence, gift is the subject of the verb was, we is the subject of the verb selected, and the connector which join these two clauses. In short, an adjective clause connectors introduce extra information about a noun by using who, whom, whose, which, or that. You can combine two sentences into one smoother, more complex sentence. Skill 12. Use adjective clause connector subject. In skill 11, we learned that an adjective clause begins with a connector who, whom, whose, which, that. Sometimes this connectors is only a connectors, but in some cases the connectors is both a connectors and the subject of the clause. When this happens, you do not need to add another subject after the connectors. An adjective clause connectors can also be the subject of the clause at the same times. This is the common connectors as a subject. We have who for people, which for things or animals, that for people or things. Sentence pattern for adjective connector subject. First, we have subject, verb, adjective connector subject, verb. Second one, we have subject, adjective connectors, verb, and verb. Okay, I will give you example. The first example, The glass that is on the table contains milk. Okay guys, what do you think? Which one is the adjective clause connector subject? In the first example, there are two clauses. Glass is a subject of the verb contains, and that is the subject of the verb is. In this example, there are also serve to function. It is the subject of the verb is, and it is connectors that join the two clause. Because that is on the table is the adjective clause describing the noun glass. It directly follow glass. Second example. Blank 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 is on the table has four sections. A. The notebook. B. The notebook which. C. Because the notebook. D. In the notebook. In this example, you should notice immediately that the sentence has two verbs, is and has, and each of them need a subject. You know, the table is not a subject because it follows the preposition on. Table is the object of the preposition. The only answer that has two subject is answer B. So, answer B is the correct answer. The correct sentence should say, the notebook which is on the table has four sections. In this sentence, notebook is the subject of the verb has, and which is the subject of the verb is, which is also the connectors that join the two clauses. In short, in Skill 12, the adjective clause connectors is also the subject of the clause. After the connectors, you must place the verb directly, not another subject.
You guys already learned about adjective clause for my part, but did you know there is an adjective clause that can be reduced? It is called a reduced form adjective clause. I will explain it a little bit for you guys. So, adjective clause can appear in a reduced form. In reduced form, the adjective clause connector and the be verb or to be that directly follow it are omitted. What will happen if there's no be verb or to be in the adjective clause? It is still possible to have an reduced form when there is no be verb or to be in an adjective clause. The connector is omitted and the verb is changed to the ing form. I will give you guys an example for the sentence that the adjective clause has a connector and a be verb. Okay, this is how the sentence. Before you guessing, please find the adjective clause first. Okay, if you guess that, then you're right. The underlying one is the adjective clause. The woman who is waving to us is the tour guide. This letter, which was written last week, arrived today. So, like I said before, if there is a connector and followed by be verb, you can omit them and being a reduced form. The woman waving to us is our tour guide. Is the tour guide. The letter written last week arrived today. I will give you guys an example about adjective clause. There is no be verb in it. Can you see it? I don't understand the article which appears in today's papers. Like I said, if there is no be verb, you need to omit the connector and change the verb into verb ing. I don't understand the article appearing in today's paper. But you must know that not all adjective clause can appear in a reduced form, and an adjective clause can appear in reduced form only if the adjective clause connector is followed by a verb. And in other words, an adjective clause can only be reduced if the connector is also a subject. And I will give you guys the structure about reduced adjective clause. if there is a be verb or to be in the adjective clause, you need to omit the connector who, which, that, or everything that will be a connector, and you need to omit the to be too. And then if there is no to be or be verb in the adjective clause, you need to omit the connector or subject and change it to verb ing. Okay, now let's go to the skill 14. Deduce adverb clause. So in this material, adverb clause can also appear in the reduced form. In the reduced form, the adverb connector remains, but the subject and the be verb or to be are omitted. I will give you guys this example. Although he is rather unwell, the speaker will take part in the seminar. When you are ready, you can begin your speech. So if we want to make a reduced form adverb clause, we need to omit the subject and the be verb. At the first sentence, although he is rather unwell, you need to omit the subject and the be verb. And it will be like this. Although rather unwell, the speaker will take part in the seminar. And the second one, when ready, you can begin your speech. The same like the adjective clause. What if there is no to be or be verb in the sentence? If there is no to be in the adverb clause, it is still possible to have a reduced form. When there is no to be in the adverb clause, the subject is omitted and the main verb is changed to ing verb or verb ing. We'll give you guys this example. So this is the full form or the complete form of the adverb clause. Although he feels rather sick, the speaker will take part in the seminar. When you give your speech, you should speak loudly and distinctly. And this is the reduced form of adverb clause. Although feeling rather sick, the speaker will take part in the seminar. When giving your speech, you should speak loudly and distinctly. You need to omit the subject and change the verb into verb ing. And I will give you guys the structure to how to change it to be a reduced form adverb clause. If there is a be verb in the adverb clauses, you can remove the subject and the to be, but the connector is still remain on the sentence. But if there is no be verb or to be in the clauses, the connector still remains on the sentence and you need to omit the subject, but the main verb is changed to be a verb ing. Okay, I think that's all from me. Bye bye.
There's often a confusion about to invert some subject and a verb after a question word. The question words such as what, when, where, why, and how can have two different functions. First, they can introduce question. So in this case, the subject and the verb that follows question word are inverted. For example, what is the homework? When can I leave? This word can also join two clauses together. If it's in this case, the subject and the verb are not inverted. For example, I do not know what the homework is. When I can leave, I will take the train. Each of these examples, there are two clauses that join together by a question word. Notice that the subject and the verb that follows the question word, what and when, are not inverted. Let's take a look at the example test question. Number 1. The lawyer asked the client why ... it. Choice A. Did he do? Choice B, did he? Choice C, he did. And choice D, did. The best answer is C, because the word why is connected to two clauses, which mean the subject and the verb didn't change, or we would say didn't turn into inverb. Number 2. When ... the meeting start. Choice A, it does. Choice B, does it. Choice C, it start. And choice D, starting it. The best answer is B, because the word when introduced as the direct question. So the subject and the verb are turned into inverted. After ideas expressing place, the subject and the verb sometimes invert in English. This can happen with a single words expressing place, such as here, there, or nowhere. For example, here is a book that you lent me. They are the keys that I thought I lost. Nowhere have I seen such beautiful weather. In the first example, the place word here causes the subject book to come after the verb is. In the second, the place word there causes the subject keys to come after the verb are. In the last example, the place word nowhere causes the subject I to come after the verb have. The subject and verb can also be inverted after proportional phrases expressing place. For example, in the closet are the clothes that you want. Around the corner is Sam's house. Beyond the mountains lies the town where you will live. It is important to understand the subject and verb will invert after place expression at the beginning of the sentence only when the place expression is necessary to complete the sentence. For example, in the forest are many exotic birds. Here, inversion is needed because the sentence depends on the place expression. But compare in the forest I walked for many hours. Here, inversion is not needed because the sentence is complete without the place expression. Now, let's see how this could appear in the TOEFL test. First, on the second level of the parking lot, comma, ... Choice A is empty. Choice B are empty. Choice C, some empty stalls are. And choice D are some empty stalls. The best answer is C. Remember, when a place expression at the front of the sentence is necessary due to complete the sentence. The sentence and verb that follow are inverted. Look at the question. The sentence begins with the place expression on the second level of parking lot. Second, in the library, many students ... for their exams. Choice A, studying are. Choice B, are studying. Choice C, study are. And choice D, are study. The best answer is B.
when a place expression at the front of the sentence contains the extra information. When a place expression at the front of a sentence contains extra information that is needed to complete the sentence, the subject and verb that follows are not inverted. Based on the question, in the library is an extra information, so the sentence is still complete without inverting it.
Skill 17. Invert the subject and verb with negatives. Sometimes in English, when a sentence begins with a negative expression like no, not, never, at no time, the subject and the verb must be inverted. That means the helping verb comes before the subject. For example, not once did I miss a question. Not once is the negative expression. Normally we say I did not miss a question, but because it starts with not once, the order changes into did I. Another type is called almost negatives, such as hardly, barely, scarcely, and only. These also make inversion. For example, hardly ever does he take time off. This means he almost never takes time off. The word hardly ever comes first, so the helping verb does goes before the subject he. So, in skill 17, always remember, when a sentence starts with a negative or almost negative word, switch the order. Verb before subject. Skill 18. Invert the subject and verb with conditional. In conditional sentences, we usually use if, but sometimes, if the conditional uses had, should, or were, we can omit if and invert the subject and verb. For example, if he had taken more time, the result would have been better. We can also say, had he taken more time, the result would have been better. So if is removed and had comes before the subject he. Now the example is the following example shows how this sentence pattern could be tested in the structure section of the TOEFL test. The report would have been accepted in checking its accuracy. A. If more care. B. More care had been taken. C. Had taken more care. D. Had more care been taken. So the correct choice is D. Had more care been taken. Why? Because if is omitted and the subject more care is inverted with the helping verb had been taken. So in skill 18, whenever the conditional uses had, should, or were, you can make the sentence shorter and more formal by omitting if and inverting the subject and verb. I think that's all from me. Thank you.
Now, let's learn skills 19. Invert the subject and verb with comparisons. An inverted subject and verb may occur also after a comparison. The inversion of a subject and verb after a comparison is optional, rather than required, and it is a rather formal structure. Let's look at these sentences. My sister spends more hours in the office than John. My sister spends more hours in the office than John does. My sister spends more hours in the office than does John. All three of these examples contain the comparison more than, and all three are correct in English. It is possible to have the noun John alone, as in the first example. It is possible that the comparison is followed by the subject and verb John does, as in the second example. It is also possible that the comparison is followed by the inverted subject and verb does John, as in the third example. Let's take a look at this first example. The results of the current experiment appear to be more consistent than the results of any previous test. Which of these answers is the correct one? If you chose the option B, were, then you are correct. In this example, you should notice the comparison more consistent than, and you should also understand that the results of the current experiment is being compared with the results of any previous test. Because the results of any previous test is the subject, only a verb is needed. Therefore, the best answer to this question is B. Now, let's take a look at the next example. New York City's Central Park is nearly twice as large blank, second smallest country, Monaco. What is the best answer for this question? If you chose the answer D, as is the, then you are correct. In this example, you should notice that a comparison is being made. Central Park's size is compared with the size of Monaco, the second smallest country. Because the second smallest country is the subject of the comparison, only a verb is needed. The correct verb is, and with inversion it becomes as is the second smallest country. Therefore, the best answer to this question is D. The subject and a verb may invert after a comparison. The following structures are both possible. Subject plus verb plus comparison plus subject plus verb. We were more prepared than the other performers were. Second one is subject plus verb plus comparison plus verb plus subject. We were more prepared than were the other performers. The written expression questions. Structure and written expression section of the TOEFL test examines your knowledge of the correct way to express yourself in English writing. Each question in this section consists of one sentence in which 4 words or groups of words have been underlined. You must choose the letter of the word or group of words that is not correct. Let's take a look at these examples. Example 1. The final delivery of the day is the importantest. Which of these part is wrong? If you said D, then you are correct. If you look at the underlined words in this example, you should notice immediately that importantest is not correct. The correct superlative form of important is the most important. Therefore, you should choose answer D because D is not correct. Example 2. The books that I read was interesting. Which part is wrong? If you said C, then you are correct. If you look at the underlined words in this example, each word by itself appears to be correct. However, the singular verb was is incorrect because it does not agree with the plural subject books. The verb should be were instead. Therefore, you should choose answer C because C is not correct. Strategies for the written expression questions. 1. Look at the underlined word or groups of words. You want to see if you can spot which of the 4 answer choices is not correct. 2. If you have been unable to find the error by looking only at the 4 underlined expressions, then read the complete sentence. Often an underlined expression is incorrect because of something in another part of the sentence. Number 3. Never leave any answers blank. Be sure to answer each question even if you are unsure of the correct response. Problems with subject or verb agreement. If the subject of a sentence is singular, then the verb must be singular. If the subject of the sentence is plural, then the verb must be plural. An S on a verb usually indicates that a verb is singular, while an S on a noun usually indicates that the noun is plural. In the first example, the singular subject boy requires a singular verb, walks. In the second example, the plural subject boys require a plural verb, walk. Although this might seem quite simple, there are a few situations on the TOEFL test when the subject or verb agreement can be a little tricky. you should be careful of subject or verb agreement in the following situations. 1. After prepositional phrases. 2. After expressions of quantity. 3. After inverted verbs. And 4. After certain words such as anybody, everything, no one, something, each, and every. Skills 20. Make verbs agree after prepositional phrases. Sometimes prepositional phrases can come between the subject and the verb. If the object of the preposition is singular and the subject is plural, or if the object of the preposition is plural and the subject is singular, there can be confusion in making the subject and the verb agree. Let's take a look at these sentences. The key to the doors are in the drawer, singular plural. The keys to the door is in the drawer, plural singular. In the first sentence, you might think that doors is the subject because it comes directly in front of the verb are. However, doors is not the subject because it is the object of the preposition to. The subject of the sentence is key, so the verb should be is. In the second sentence, you might think that door is the subject because it comes directly in front of the verb is. You should recognize in this sentence that door is not the subject because it is the object of the preposition to. Because the subject of the sentence is keys, the verb should be are. Subject and verb agreement with prepositional phrases. Subject plus prepositional phrase plus verb. When a prepositional phrase comes between the subject and the verb, be sure that the verb agrees with the subject. Let's take a look at these examples. Are these sentences correct or incorrect? Number 1. The climbers on the sheer face of the mountain need to be rescued. Is this sentence correct or incorrect? If you said correct, then you are right. The sentence is correct because the subject, the climbers, is plural, and so is the verb, need. Number 2. The interrogation conducted by 3 police officers have lasted for several hours. Is this sentence correct or incorrect? If you said incorrect, then you are right. This sentence is incorrect because the subject is singular, the interrogation, while the verb is plural, have. The correct sentence should be, the interrogation, conducted by 3 police officers, has lasted for several hours. That is all for my explanation. Thank you very much.